we go. This is more terrifying than a shark.
Wow, what a place. And an awesome walk up to it.
Yeah.
Coming up that first bit of the hill, thinking this is all right, and then you've got to do another bit of a hill, and then you hit that brow, and right in the distance, you just see a tiny little piece of this.
You can't imagine there'll be carp in it, can you?
No, like we were talking, how did they get up here?
Yeah. Did someone walk all that way with a bucket?
I hope so. I hope someone had the foresight and the vision to go, I'm going to put a few in there, but other than that, you have got to question how they did get it.
I love the landscape. For me, that's what makes the British Isles special. We have so much diversity.
Yeah, awesome place. But I think it's going to be a challenge.
Most important thing, win or lose, we'll have an angling story to tell.
Oh, we're going to have an adventure, that's for sure. Right, let's get them rods out.
It was the back end of the summer. Options ain't great then. Do you know what I mean? You want to be out in the spring or maybe later into the autumn if you're going to go carp fishing. We just knew that we wanted to go and spend some time fishing together, utilising the scope range. You know, Martin's been with the company 4 years now, 3 years, something like that. And fully embraced scope, you know, totally loves the concept and appreciates it. It can deviate outside of carp fishing. You know, he's caught a lot of barbel using them, a lot of chub, a lot of big catfish. And yeah, we decided to go away together and illustrate a number of different situations, venue types, species even, where scope would come into their own. And yeah, it was Martin really, he came up with the concept, source to sea. So right up at the top of a mountain, hillside, all the way down sort of the various stages of a river, how the river evolves and develops, the different species you find through that evolution of a small stream to an estuary, and the sort of icing on the cake, and big ups Martin for this, he ain't daft. Yeah, we were going to conclude it by going out into the sea.
And we can be honest here, what actually happened on our trip before we went shark fishing?
Bit of a disaster, really. Well, no, not a disaster, that's wrong. It's not a disaster. For personal fishing, for a personal experience, I don't mind these days if I blank or if I catch. Of course, I always try to, because it's about the adventure, it's about the journey. But in a filming sense, we needed to deliver.
Did we catch any carp? No, we didn't. We caught chub. Martin caught chub of all the species. Did we see any carp? Potentially not. Did we find a few scales when we got there from a carp? Probably. That might have been altered quite recently. Like I say, it was about as wild and remote as you could possibly get to go and try and catch a carp. So yeah, we did a few hours fishing there. I flitted around, I think I moved 2 or 3 times, chucking little choddies about or tiny little rigs with a single grain of plastic corn. But yeah, we didn't get one.
I did catch a chub, so I'd take that as a success. I did catch a chub out there. How chub get up there, I really don't know. But that was the start, and I would say that set the tone. Always when you're filming and you're wanting to produce, you want that first one. And yeah, it was disappointing to be walking off, I have to say, without a fish. And then we went to a small little tributary of the Wye that I know, which is gorgeous. And I knew Alan would fall in love with that.
Yeah, and on these kind of venues, these little tiny short rods, they're all you need. Like back down there, I was bending it underneath a tree, you know, you really wouldn't want to cast it here.
They are stunning, Martin. Magical.
So using his little scope rod, little tiny spinner, little tiny lures, catching only miniature trout. But again, it's the environment. You would think at that place you were in New Zealand, really, and that is in Wales.
Do you know, again, just needed to go that little bit further up, mate.
Let me just grab them. Look at that.
Stunning and so much fun.
We left there and it just got crazier. You know, if trying to catch a carp from the top of a mountain was not crazy enough, we then went to the Wye Valley, you know, one of the most beautiful parts of England. The River Wye sort of cuts through the countryside, and there's lots of gorges and big suspended swing bridges and deep forest, you know, really nice forest and woodland. And yeah, it's an incredible river, synonymous with salmon anglers, barbel anglers, not carp anglers. But Martin had sort of teed me up and gone, yeah, you know, there's a couple in there might be half a dozen. Were we pissing in the wind? You bet we were. But I had all the gear with me. I had some heavy scopes, long bank sticks, washing line clips. I had the new scope boat with me. And even though in my hearts of hearts, I thought it was a tall order, that's the magic of fishing. You know, people had caught carp from the River Wye. In fact, big carp have been caught from the River Wye. And we had good intel from Adam, who runs the beat, that this particular sort of stretch, me and Martin were a couple of 100 metres apart, you know, where was the area where these carp resided. So yeah, with full integrity, put out some rods, crossed to the other side, waited until almost dark. The river's renowned for having a lot of kayakers and canoeists on it. The last thing I wanted to do was be taking one of those out of a washing line. But yeah, got some washing lines set. Did the night, it passed quietly. I think if I recall, Martin had a few fish in the night, a couple of barbel, small barbel. And yeah, come first thing in the morning and ended up taking the washing lines away before the first kayakers come past. I think I had a chub or two, but no carp. But it was really exciting, and it was a great example of the scope ranging performing. You know, I was carrying my rucksack down extremely steep banks and setting up brollies on little spits of land down by the water itself. And yeah, using a small boat, yeah, everything that scope is about, really, having an adventure.
We failed there as well, and that's reality with all these shoots. There's so much good angling content. Everyone's pushing it all the time, and the harder you push, the bigger the chance of failing. But in some ways, you know, you've got to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to make the same old stuff time and time again. So after that, then we needed to go to a lake down in sort of like the bottom of the valley in Wales, and fish for carp as well. And as soon as we arrived again, that was looking tricky. It was just one of those weeks, and Alan was full bore in most of the lake with his cameras and rods and rigs and, you know, washing line setups and everything. And I just went up the top nice and quiet on my own, a single rod under my feet, and managed to catch a carp there.
Yep. God, that was fraught. Oh, that's some sleeping to a million miles an hour. Oh, got one. What a carp, what a ruck, what an alarm call. It's a beautiful fish. Golden common. Nice and dark on the top as well, no doubt, because of the environment it lives in. And I caught that literally half a wrap out, no distance at all. I was only going to get one bite, and this was a good fish to have it with. Look at that.
And then really need to make a decision because it's fluid. When you're making a film, you need to maybe change course. And we still had what I always knew would be the prime thing, which was to go shark fishing. So it evolved the project, but I always think if you keep trying, if you keep going, then eventually it will happen.
Come first light, we reconvened, had a brew, and it was time to sort of head on with the last sort of leg of the journey, and that was to the sea. I ended up staying for a few hours more, did a bit of float fishing, caught another really nice one off the top.
Yeah. Whoa, terrible strike. Good timing, but this is when I'm at my absolute happiest. Done a couple of nights now, do you know what I mean? Like spot fishing, carp fishing, bite alarms, and I've even using underwater cameras and boats, and I've loved it. It hasn't been productive this time, but there's a lot of process you go through, and I do enjoy them. But there's nothing I enjoy more than just the Sawn-Off. Just the one rod, the unhooking mat, the net, my baiting pouch, just staying active. Koi's an absolute lovely linear. Stunning carp and so much fun. He's really beautiful. Yes! Cool, look at him. I think we've just got enough time to try for one more from this pool, and then I'll go and try for one final hour right down the bottom end where Martin nicked his fish last night. I started off in there, did a little bit of float fishing. They were definitely down there. There's a sort of huge out of bounds area, loads of weed, loads of trees. The perfect home really for some carp. So yeah, get this one slipped back, try and nick one more from here on the floater, and have a final hour down the bottom. Let's put a big smile on my face, that has.
But yeah, they were tricky, all in all. Like I say, sort of back end of the summer, they've had a bit of pressure from the syndicate members. But it was a nice place to spend some time, and again, illustrate really what that scope range was created for, creeping around those venues, half a wrapping, dipping in and out of bushes, and hunting those fish down. We slept the night just in a car park, if I recall, flipped the scope fourfold bed chair out, crashed out for a few hours, and we had a very early start the following morning. We were going out on the big ocean with our scope rods.
Farewell and adieu to you, Spanish ladies, farewell.
We're heading to West Wales, near Milford Haven, and that is Shark City out there. There are so many sharks off of the coast of West Wales. You lead out into the Celtic deeps, and then that's where we'll be fishing. Beyond that, you've got the Atlantic Ocean.
You literally are miles from anywhere. But for me, it's always been somewhere I've wanted to go. Martin's told me about trips where they'll go out for 48 hours, for 3 days, for longer, living on the boats, fishing for not just big sea fish, but like unicorns, true once in a lifetime fish that some people say they're myths. Other people say that they really are out there. So yeah, I'd been told these stories about these Celtic deeps, and we were heading in that direction. perhaps not all the way out to them, but we were certainly going a couple of hours out. With a skipper I've not been with before, but heard nothing but good things about him, watched a couple of interviews, and that is Andrew on White Waters, a very, very renowned skipper for fishing for those big fish. It ain't the same as going carp fishing or match fishing, or you're dealing with the ocean. You know, you're dealing with waves and currents and tides and extreme weather in some instances, and seasickness. You know, that's part of the course. And like I say, I've been pretty good. I know how to get by it. I know what to do the moment I start to feel a little bit queasy. Basically carry on fishing as much as possible. Fishing, tie a new leader, put a new jig head on, casting, whatever. Stay focused, stay fishing. But the two lads that come out with Martin and I, it was their first time. It was their first time out at sea, and it was a baptism of fire, to say the least. I remember the morning was beautiful. It really was, but you're in a harbour, do you know what I mean? You like tick, 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 out of the harbour, everything's nice, everyone's smiling, first brew of the morning. And then you sort of start to get out of the harbour and it starts to more and more, and you hit, and everyone's still smiling, and you get out of the harbour itself, and you know, you start to really make some headway into a big headwind. And yeah, it got rougher and rougher and rougher, and the beautiful sort of sunrise disappeared, and it got a bit moodier, and yeah, very, very quickly got hold of the lads. And that is the thing with seasickness. If it gets you, there is no turning back. It got real bad. Once we got out there, it was actually pretty joy. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't the calmest of days. It was hardly a mill pond, but it wasn't too bad. You know, the sun come out, it was nice. And I just felt so bad for them because they couldn't enjoy it. They couldn't really capture any of it. I don't know what you guys are going to witness or see now, but how I remember that day is two lads in a real bad way, like super poorly. Maybe not so much tone, but Sam was like writ off. You know, to the point a couple of times Martin had like whisper in my ear, he's like, do you think we need to go? Do you think we should just head back? Like, you know, towards the end of the afternoon, he's like, mate, we might have to get him airlifted out. You know, Sam was in a bad way. Like I say, once it gets you, it's got you. Watch your back, mate.
Right, if you pick right, you go first. You're first. You got to do it that way, ain't you? Yeah. Because then the fish gods have decided.
And I think people think sharks are something for an exotic place, but we would be out there, and in the summer, huge amounts of blue sharks gather there. There are other predatory species, but it's mainly the blue sharks, and they were going to be a good test for scope rods. So, you know, I was really looking forward to it. I love it out there. It is a very, very wild place. You can have whales come up. You never know what's going to take your bait. It's the unknown, the mystery. And a lot of lakes, you know exactly what it is. You know them by name, you know the weight. You are never getting that out there. So for me, that was always going to be the highlight, and the hope was that was going to pull the whole project through.
Like I say, once we got out to the actual mark where we were going to do a bit of fishing, it was pretty joy. It was a nice day. It was just a rough run out there. And yeah, the sun come up, we got the chum bag in, we started slicking and prepared some rods, got them out, and that bit's all like, you're doing stuff, do you know what I mean? Whether it's preparing more chum, I added a load of liquids, shrimp and brine gammarus, I think, from the particle range, like a really high quality, non-preserved, well, yeah, brine and shrimp gammarus. So when you're doing that and you're tying a new leader on, you're preparing a bottle float and you're making a mackerel flapper or whatever, you're busy. But the moment those rods are set, yeah, everything changes. Like the anticipation starts to build, you know, you're scouring the water. You genuinely, I know this might sound silly, you're looking for a fin. You know, you're looking for indications on the float, maybe where a bait's been picked up and dropped. Maybe a couple of clicks coming off a reel. So yeah, the moment those rods are kind of set, we fished 4 rods, if I remember, at varying different depths and distances. Yeah, you're standing there, like, and it starts to get really exciting. And yeah, that's the magic of fishing.
I reckon one of these rods are going in a second.
Oh, that first bite is electric. And yeah, the action was pretty hectic right throughout the day.
I be on top car, I be on job, and I put it on God, they ain't nobody stopping me. Do the thing and it gets done properly, known for my honesty, not so much for my modesty. What's my policy? No remorse or apology, I am the wickedness hungry. Show me where the dinner is. First place podium finishes.
Wow, that's taking off, mate. I do love it when you can't do this with a carp. You rip the hook out. I love it when you can like really pull into them.
So antisocial. I don't give a if it's global. Limited space in my circle. How many times have I told you? Toxic with attitude, so I spread bad vibes on the circuit. Rude boy thing, and I'm never in the mood to save your wild one. What's good and what's happening.
Right.
So is that like
That's the number now. You're going to fill a card in later. So this is for angling, not for like research. This is going towards for anglers, showing how important, how many fish we can actually tag between all the chapter. The plan is to tag 2,000 blue sharks this side of the Atlantic.
Tackle, light carp tackle, I love it. I'm putting 4.5 scope on mine.
Yeah, I think with those sharks, I'm 100% in control when you're playing one. Don't get me wrong, like you wouldn't want to not be concentrating, i.e. over tighten your drag, or so you've got to be sort of switched on and on the ball. But yeah, I think with a rod like that, the quality of the carbon, I just feel like I can lean into it. At no point in the fight, do you know what I mean? Let's say it's round here now and it wants to go under the boat or round the back of the engine, I will just lock down on it, you know, and pull as hard as I possibly can, and have zero fear that any of my tackle's going to let me down. I think that's really important. Going and fishing for any fish of that magnitude, you know, whether it's a big arapaima, a big Siamese carp, or a big blue shark, whatever it is, a massive catfish. These things pull back, you know, and in many instances, as the angler, we got to pull back even harder. And it's a game of, you know, tug and war. And yeah, I feel super confident using that particular setup. The 80-pound braid, the GTL 8000s, a 4.5 test curve scope. If I need to, I will lean into it 100%, you know, to combat that fish.
I think taking scopes to sea is a test because of the environment, and also a shark can run a long way. I mean, those blues come in, they've got those massive pectoral fins, they're used to drifting across the Atlantic, and so when you hit one of them, they can charge off, and on the right gear, you get a hell of a scrap. But we both caught sharks to over 100 pound. Both caught blues to over 100 pound, and did I feel once it was out of control? No, it was fun, to be honest. If I went back blue shark fishing again with Andrew, I wouldn't want to pick up the sea rods because they're heavy and they're cumbersome. It was lovely to hold that setup and play them and enjoy it and not feel like we're doing it solely for the film, because I would be happy to go and use it again. Yeah, of course, sometimes for a film you could push an item of tackle, but that wasn't the case there. I was more than happy that any blue that we hooked, we would land. A Paul Beagle, I don't know, we didn't hook any, and they're a much more dirty fight. They want to come in under the boat all the time, and you've got to hang out. Whether the length might affect us, probably not. It'd be interesting trying, but yeah, so far what I've tried, scopes can cope, as they say.
Martin, come on in, mate. Come on. Like you're ready.
Big tuna boy!
Slammed out of new oven.
Spat it.
Keep going, keep
Spat
going.
it.
Keep going, keep going, he's on it, keep
He's
going.
on it!
He's on it, yeah man.
Hey, it's so quick!
Is it all gone?
I think so, yeah. Sick buzz though.
Have a look when it's pressed it off, keep going. I've got the flat, that's a 90-pound braid. Right, acceleration, go again.
Yeah, let's
I
go
think
again.
it's a deadly go on this, I reckon, mate. Give
go
it a
again.
All
catch.
right. Yeah, I like the cast though if I'm having a go. You got to do the
Hook up. Let's set scope up.
Coming back into shore that day with two extremely poorly videographers and two anglers that were absolutely buzzing because we caught all these big sharks on a scope. Yeah, we hit some bust-ups, you know, with huge numbers of tuna.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
Oh my God.
That is Blue Planet.
Yeah, it's proper Blue Planet. Look at them.
People would not believe that that is happening in the British Isles. That is Blue Planet.
Oh my God. Yeah? Go. Look at them!
Yeah?
We had the scopes there, we didn't use them. You know, there is a limit to how far I think we can push it. But do I think one day, with a little bit of tweaking in the makeup of the blank, could we go and catch a big tuna on one? Perhaps.
I be on top car, I be on job, and I put it on God, they ain't nobody stopping me. Do the thing and it gets done properly. Known for my honesty, not so much for my modesty. What's my policy? No remorse or apology. I am the wickedest, hungry. Show me where the dinner is. First place podium finishes. Man wanna chat about send, deliver it. Man wanna chat about work that they don't do. Not a joke if the man them approach you. Act like you know what it is when I roll through. Let me go back to the start. On job. No days off now, I won't stop. Non-stop, drop fire, but I don't drop. That's why every boy, man, a man's on top.